Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Just imagine what kind of crazy person you have to be to move into someone else's house and try to register the bills in your own name while trying to marry your daughter to the person who owns the house. Well, we'll go into more detail in our first story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. EM thought she would own my parents' house. My parents divorced when I was young. My dad remarried his mistress, and my mom took off to another country. They would both provide money for us, and mom would come and go. We all lived in the house our parents owned. A few years later, the older siblings moved out, leaving only my youngest brother, who was 17 at the time. He had a girlfriend since he was 15, and she was 14. While he stayed living alone at 17, she basically moved in right away. Mom came home and kicked her out. So this girl's mom had a talk with my mom about getting the kids married already, since they seemed to be very in love and were together for 2 years already. Her idea was to do it while my brother was still a minor, so there wouldn't be any issues when he turned 18 next year. My mom told her it was crazy, and maybe they should break up and wait until she's 18 for them to get back together if they want to. Mom had to leave again, leaving my brother alone. 3 months later, this lady moves into my parents' house, claiming it's abandoned since only a minor lives there, and she was trying to change the bills to her name and trying to convince neighbors to testify that she's lived there for years. My brother was young, dumb, and felt lonely, so he wouldn't say anything about it and just let it happen. My mom couldn't go right away, so I had to step in. I'd moved some states away. The entitlement on this woman amazes me to this day. I decided to move in. I took my old room back and my sister's room for my kids, leaving her and her kids without a place to stay but the living room. She broke some of my stuff. She attempted to yell at my babies. Do not mess with my kids. She called the cops, saying I was trespassing. She picked a fight with my neighbors when he got on my side with the police, and when she finally moved out, she took some of my parents' stuff. She attempted to convince my brother to go with her. She knew I would leave eventually. She just wanted to have my brother so she could move back in. He was so fed up with everything, at that point, he just broke it off with the girl. I moved back into my husband's home state, and my brother didn't allow any other girl to move in. He actually stayed single for a long while. Rumor has it EM did get her hands on some poor person's house and had to be kicked out by police eventually. Some people are so entitled, my mind refuses to believe it. Glad your brother's fine. And our second story. If you aren't going to do anything, I don't want to see you. I work at a fabrication plant as a fabricator and welder. It's awful. We have locks on the bathrooms because our employees like to smoke in the stalls and pee on the floors. Our boss is about as unsavory, but in a different way. He's a lumpy 300-pound dude with an authority complex, diabetes, and 1,000 dip-stained sweatpants. Needless to say, I usually keep my head down by welding or hanging out with one of our administrators. Well, here recently we ran out of materials and parts, which puts us at a standstill. It'd be like working at KFC and running out of chicken. Now, this happens all too often, and the general workforce usually gets the shaft for it, despite us having no control over ordering materials. In fact, materials are shipped from our HQ when an order is placed by, you guessed it, management. I had been told by my supervisor that I needed to clean up out in our yard. This consists of pacing about 4 to 5 acres of land, picking up bolts and screws one at a time. I actually enjoyed it, despite the heat, and I'm working away when my supervisor runs out to tell me that the CEO is visiting. He says that if I am seen outside, the CEO will start asking questions. So I come back inside and clean. Basically, push a broom in the same square foot for hours. Here comes my boss, waddling over my way, red as a beet. Boss: "Hey, F-word, what the F are you doing?" Me: "Keep him busy, boss." Boss: "Why aren't you effing building anything?" Me: "We built everything." He knows this is no surprise to him. Boss: Oh, there's nothing better you could be effing doing? The owner of the effing company is here and you're pushing a broom? Me. Yes. At this point, he goes full-on diabetes Hulk. Boss, if you aren't gonna effing do anything, I don't want to see your effing face, jackwagon. Me. I can hang out of the yard if you want. Out of sight, out of mind? Boss, I don't care what you do as long as I don't effing see you, idiot. Every day now for the past week, I punch in, walk outside, lay under some pallets, and sleep or read my day away. When supervisors ask me what I'm doing, I tell them I have orders from the boss, and they, hating him as much as everyone else, aren't going to willingly go talk to him to confirm or explain why I've been getting paid to sleep for the past week. I like to think I'm a pretty dependable guy. Heck, I've been working overtime since I got my new assignment. Edit. I suppose some clarification is in order. We do have an HR office, but it's not in our state. They won't give us the HR contact info, and even if we had it, most of us would be too scared to say anything in fear of losing our jobs for starting crap. I've also looked for new jobs, but there isn't anything that's going to pay me like they do here. I'm actually talking with a dude right now with a startup that wants me on the ground floor of, but he might be ghosting me now. Not sure. Trust me, if there were other options, I would have found them by now. Oh, and this company is like Fortune 30, so yes, they have money. We clean up, really, sweep everything under rugs, and make the place pristine when we have the owner or important people over. They're none the wiser. Man, if you can get those orders in writing or email, you'd be set. I can only assume this is not that kind of place. Hope you don't get the short end of the stick, or have a backup. Hey, use that time to look for a new job. Win-win. And our last story. Karen neighbor threatens to burn down my house. To start this off, I have some unconventional pets. Tarantulas, snakes, a spoiled mouse, and some conventional pets, cats and dogs. As such, I've gotten a lot of pushback from entitled people. However, this last interaction takes the cake. I was out walking one of my dogs when I heard screaming coming from a few houses down. When I got closer, I found out it was my new neighbor screaming at Ray, the pest control guy. This woman is a shorter woman with short, brightly colored hair. Spit was practically flying from her mouth. A young, bored-looking boy stood in the doorway of the house. When Ray sees me, he waves me over quickly. Look, miss, OP here can tell you we're just walking around the house to do pest control. We're hired by the HOA. Ray practically sobs. Hi, Ray really does work for the HOA as pest management. However, if you don't feel comfortable with Ray or his company being around your house, you can just tell him to mark you down as a skip. I shrug, understanding not everyone is comfortable with people walking around their homes. Yes, I don't want these people walking around my house. My sweet baby was playing outside and he scared him, Karen screams. Ray looks so relieved for a split second. Yes, miss, we can certainly put you down on the skip list, or even as a partial skip like OP does, Ray offers. A partial skip? Karen asks, confused. Yep, I have some exotic pets that are sensitive to the spray they use, so they skip the window to their room, I told her with a smile. Exotic pets? The boy says, peeking up. I smiled, going into full teacher mode. I explained that I have many different kinds of pets. I told them that I take a lot of specialty pets people buy before doing the research on. Or since COVID hit, I've been getting a lot of animals from people who have moved back in with their parents and they couldn't take their animals with them. The more I talk, the more excited the boy looks, and the more horrified the mother does. Wait, she interrupts. What kind of monsters are you keeping? Excuse me? They aren't monsters. They're just awesomely uncommon pets, I snapped, slightly annoyed. Snakes, spiders, they're monsters. How can you keep them? Honestly, I would just burn the whole house to the ground and just take the loss, Karen screeches. Now, something you should know is that as a child, I did in fact have a house burned down. Both my parents were badly burned and spent months in the hospital. My brother and I had nowhere to go, as none of my family could or would take us in, The firefighters ended up cleaning out a back room at the station and let us live there for a month before my mom was released from the hospital. So the threat of going through that again shook me to the core. That kind of joke isn't funny. You would say that to somebody who owned a dog or a cat, so don't say that to me. I've been through the aftermath of losing a house to a fire. It's not something to use as an empty threat. I snarl at the Karen. She sniffs and tosses her nose into the air. Who said it was an empty threat? She snips at me. Everyone froze. I can't imagine what my face must have looked like. Ray looked between us and took a step away from me. It better be, Karen, because I have enough cameras that alert me if anyone steps onto my property. I also have enough ammo to bring down a small army. Take from that what you will, I snarled, grinning like a shark. Was that a threat? Karen gasps. As long as you don't plan to follow through with yours, I won't be forced to follow through with mine, I grin sharply. She storms back up the drive, leaving her now wide-eyed son behind, and she slams the door. Ray jumps. Well, that wasn't how I expected this day to go, he sighs tiredly. I just nod. The kid looks at me sheepishly before shyly asking, "Could I hold one of your snakes and see your spiders?" Talk to your dad when he gets home, and if he says yes, y'all can come over and hang out, I tell him, still trying to calm down. Update. Kid came over and had a blast, fell in love with some of the noodles, and Dad has asked if he could help with my snakes to see if maybe he could get one in the future. So he's fostering Najash the corn snake. Najash is still living with me, but he'll come over after school and help take care of him. It might be worth documenting her stupidity with a police report to help her learn she can't say anything she wants. Your response shouldn't be a problem, as you stated you would only respond in self-defense. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.